Hey, can I ask a question before Michelle does a demonstration? Um, Typical scenarios that I come across with customers are, and speak to customers daily who have 32-bit Windows 7 applications for whatever reason will not be supported on Windows 10, accessing Server 2008 databases. In that typical scenario, how does Droplet Computing actually help?
So we can do two things really, Derek. The first thing is we can secure up that legacy application client side. So wrap that into a security bubble inside the Droplet Computing container. This has been pen tested by the NCC Group PLC. As being secure. They tried to crack in from outside the host. They tried to crack in from a compromised host and couldn't get in. We actually had IE8 and a version of Java 1.6 in the application that had sort of Swiss cheese holes and something that would be very vulnerable, and they couldn't gain access to any of those particular applications. But now we've got the server side as well. We complement that on the server side by wrapping a bubble around both ends of the solution. So nothing other than the Droplet client end container can access the Droplet server end container, and as Michelle showed in her slide earlier, it wraps a complete security bubble around both those parts, allowing them to move forward to modern Windows 10 or Chrome, or even on a Linux platform or the Mac, as we described earlier.
Excellent, thanks, Barry.
This is my demo environment here that I've got set up. I'm an Apple Mac user, so I've chosen to use our Apple Mac version to demo our capabilities. But the features that you'll see on the Apple Mac version work just the same, if not even more integrated to Windows than the version I've got here. So this is our client-side container, and if I click the launch button here, what you'll see is I get a copy of Excel, a very old version of Excel. We do have the ability to run modern applications as well, but I thought it might be nice to show a really ancient application running on my system. The other thing I've got running is a very old version of a web browser. Yeah, so I've got a version of IE here, which is actually IE8. One of the very common requests we have from customers is customers who've got a legacy web server environment, sometimes an intranet, which has a web browser requirement, which is IE8, IE9, or even IE6, believe it or not, with requirements for very elderly versions of Java. I've actually connected here to one of our server containers. Yeah, I've got two server containers, one running IIS version 6. That's the version of IIS that shipped with 2003. And I've also got a web server running our DCIM8 container. This is IIS 7, which was what shipped with 2008 R2. So this is actually showing you two things at the same time in a way. It's showing an Apple Mac system running an extremely old web browser for compatibility purposes, gaining access to a server backend, which is similarly based on a legacy system. And it's a good example because it shows how the server component can be on a very old system and the client side can be on a very old system. And we can deliver both of those with a security bubble wrapped around both the client app and also the server app. For the server people out there, you might be interested to know, well, how would a Windows admin manage that IIS 6 or IIS 7? So inside our Droplet container, we can make available something like RDP, and that administrator would merely run a shortcut on their application tile interface and log into the server-based container. As far as they're concerned, this just looks like any other copy of 2003. They have no idea that this is actually running within a container provided by ourselves. And for the most part, this is where 99% of the administration happens on a daily basis. The application owner is focused on managing the server-side application. They don't really need to know where this server container is running. It could be in Azure. It could be on an on-premise vSphere environment. It could be on bare metal if that's what they require. For people who are higher up that stack, if you remember me talking about the RBAC and people having different levels, let me show you what the UI looks like for the Droplet server admin. So we do have a web-based front end for the Droplet server. What this will give the server administrator access to is a console on those containers rather than just an RDP connection. And from this admin front end, you can do different things like rewire the networking to the container, create additional disks or Droplet files and attach them. So if the legacy system needs more storage, the Droplet server admin can allocate that storage to the actual container itself. And then moving even higher up the stack, where is the Droplet server running? Well, in this case, the Droplet server is running on my vSphere cluster. We initially got started running this on a Azure environment, but we've since done the work to port this to a vSphere environment because so many customers have capacity on their ESX hosts. So you can regard the Droplet server here as a virtual appliance if you want to, and you could have multiples of them. It's up to you whether you have one Droplet server with multiple containers, which is what I've got in my demo, or whether you have multiple Droplet servers with just one container on each one. It's entirely up to you what level of consolidation that you go for. That's a choice. And of course, how much resources you allocate to the Droplet server and how much resources you allocate to the containers is entirely based on the resource consumption of the applications themselves. Well, that's it for my quick demo. Hopefully it's giving you a taste for what we do on both the client side and the server side. There's so much more to what we do from a technology standpoint, but please re-engage with us if you'd like to learn more in a deeper dive session.
So if you have an application, whether it's client side or server side, that's giving you a challenge, feel free to reach out to me, Derek Steele at msshuk.com. And thanks very much for watching the video. Thank you. Thank you, Barry, and thank you, Michelle, for your time.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much for watching.